righty.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I am Josefina Fuster, and I am the brand director for Bird Be Gone. Welcome to our Bird Out webinar. We are very excited that you're joining us today to learn more about how Bird Out can boost your recurring revenue. This webinar will be presented by my colleague, Mike Doherty. Some of you have worked with Mike before, but for those of you who don't know him, Mike has over 21 years of experience in the pest control industry. He has taught hundreds of training sessions at Bird Be Gone University. Next one coming up next Friday. Check that out. And regularly travels around the country giving presentations on bird control. Mike specializes in helping our customers find the right bird control solution to their problem, the proper use and installation of our products, as well as sanitization best practices. Since this is a really short call, we know everybody's busy, so we invite you to write in the chat any questions that you may have as they arise. And behind the scenes, my colleague, Alan Ronis, and I will review and collect your questions so we can address them towards the end of the call. For any questions that we don't get to cover, we'll be sure to send an email out to you with all the answers. And this webinar will also be recorded so you can check it out at your convenience later on. Please take a moment to mute yourself. And if you haven't done so, Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Josefina and Alan. Appreciate the time here. Let's start off with we're talking about the Bird Out and Bird Out Aromatic Bird Repellent. Very easy way to keep birds out of certain people's situations, your customers' situations. Very, very easy to use. Just activate the cartridge, just a twist and a snap. One of the qualifications for using this type of product is whenever I qualify it with somebody, I say, can you use the normal line of products like the spikes, the netting, the track, and the bird wire and stuff like that? That's just a good indication of if the answer is no, then this is something that's a possibility in bird control. It bridges that gap where where you can't use that normal line of products, and it's a repellent. It's been proven to work for many different types of birds. So what it is, the main ingredient in this product is methylenthranilate. It's a food grade ingredient they use to flavor grape soda and candy and medicines and stuff like that. So I just had it cracked open at a show this week, and everybody knew exactly what it was. So it smells a lot like grapes. So key feature as far as this being a repellent, and back when they figured out this methylenthranilate does repel birds, it was with thermal foggers and using it to very large areas. This isn't quite on the large scale. This is more on the smaller scale for residences and even businesses, stuff like that. So it's been proven to repel birds in multiple situations and multiple delivery systems. The key feature on this one is that it's not a mechanical delivery of it. It's basically evaporating, the methylenthranilate is evaporating out of the fabric of the cartridge. So the only mechanical part is twist and click and then close it up into the cage. And as far as what it actually does, the mode of action is it's actually the methylenthranilate irritates the trigeminal nerve inside of the nasal passages, and that's how it works as far as deterring birds. Again, a very super easy to use. Just comes in. I don't know if you can see it here. I've got one here. You can see that right there. Boom, twist, click. You'll hear that significant click to get it to open and break the seal that's at the edge of the part that holds the liquid into it. So dispenser is easy to install as well. You just there's a sticky back on it. Most people are probably going to screw it into the wall. I don't know how long a sticky back's going to last, but most people in the pest control industry are going to screw that to the wall or whatever part of the building that you can secure that to. Here's a picture of the dispenser, or some people call it a cage or whatever it is. It's something to house it so that you can protect it from people actually getting their hands on it. There's a little lock to it. Its dimensions are 2.5 by 5.5 by I'd more 2.5. Pretty small, really, very, very, very discreet. And it has a Bird Be Gone logo on the front of it. They come in black. Some people were asking me if you could paint it. I go, it's plastic. You could paint it if you needed to, but not sure how long that would stay on there, depending on the places. Because I was just in Phoenix last week, and people said that. They're like, not sure how long that paint's going to stay there, but either way. So what it does is basically it's a passive dispenser, and you're relying on the airflow of it to disperse it in the area that you're trying to protect. So the idea is, as far as how much it protects, when I was at the show, I would talk about a 10-foot area, 10 by 10 by 10 foot area that would basically, you can protect. It's also going to come down to, how much wind is there. If it's really windy in that situation, you probably decrease the size. If it's not as much wind and it's enclosed more, you could maybe expect 20 by 20 by 20. So it's really going to come down to how much airflow is in that situation, and that really counts. If you put it out in the open of a windy, in a windy field, you're probably not going to get that kind of a coverage for it. But we found that with it having some sort of a backdrop or some sort of a building to keep that in there, you have a better success rate with that. And as far as a feature for the pest control industry or any service industry, it has a recurring revenue side of things. These cartridges last up to about 60 days. It's a good idea. We're finding that temperature does affect it. At lower temperatures, it's not evaporating as fast. And after being in Phoenix last week, when it gets to 120 or so, in the middle of summer, I would say that it evaporates a little faster. So maybe you do it every month. Change it out every month in the summer months out in your warmer climates. So it does. Generally 60 days is what we've been finding, but temperature does affect it. So just manage it by the area that you're in. Let's see here. So what was I going to say about that? Oh, as far as the recurring revenue part, it's something to think about. I know we're already in the spring, and if you have situations where you had birds coming in the springtime, having it in place before birds get there works a whole lot better than coming into something that's already developed and very well ingrained. So that as far as a strategy is concerned, getting it in place before things start to happen, like spring and fall. Like with spring and fall, a bird that this works really well on is woodpeckers. Getting it in place in the spring, early spring and early fall, and that's because when we get all of the calls with them pecking on buildings. So think about that as a preventative measure. As far as the actual species that are labeled on it, it's rock dove, pigeons, starlings, gulls, blackbirds, sparrows. It's also in states where site-specific areas, putting it in up in the eave of the door, eave of an area of a house or something like that. That's where you want to get it in. And it's around those structures that you're going to find the best use of it. Where to use, again, decks, patios, garages, tool sheds, warehouses, mostly buildings, outdoor areas, outdoor dining areas, windowsills, backyards, and other areas on buildings. So bird pressure that it works for is light to medium. That means it's, occasional birds, or, it's a very somewhat ingrained behavior. As far as it getting into nesting areas, it has worked for some nesting areas, but if you have a fully infested nesting area with sparrows or pigeons or anything like that, the normal line of product is netting. But you can also use this to back it up when you do an exclusion to put this stuff up after that to keep the birds from trying to come back. And I've had customers with good success with that. So after they've done an exclusion, they put the stuff up to push the birds out, and it facilitated that they didn't have to do the trapping to get all the pigeons out of that. It pushed them all the way off the building. So nice little added bonus to that. Where to use it, outdoor dining, I wouldn't put it directly over tables, put it on the periphery. Outdoor dining has been one of the, harder things to solve, versus you can't put a big net over the whole thing. So this brings something to the table that we didn't really have before. It's workable in barns, warehouses, patio, outdoor areas. It's, again, take a look and, can you use the normal line of products? If that's no, then this is something that brings something to the table, and it's very economical. When you look at where, how much it costs, it runs out about 12, 16 a cartridge, $10 for the cage and dispenser. It brings it into a much more affordable zone for, introducing bird work into your repertoire of services. So it's a great tool. It's another tool in the toolbox. So it's nice to announce it. It's a good thing to have, and we fully support it. So where it's available, as far as I know, there's people joining in from other states. The place is not super easy. Florida, Hawaii, Maine, Michigan, and South Dakota. I almost said San Diego. So it looks like Connecticut and Rhode Island have signed off, and Indiana have signed off it as of recently. So Florida, if anybody here is on from Florida, I can't wait to get it there with all of those lanais out there. Fantastic around those type of places. So we're hoping Florida will sign off on it pretty soon. Again, you can use it in residential and commercial situations. Again, I talked about the cost of it. Deters most bird species. I've heard of it. I was always wondering about whether it was going to deter sparrows, but it's been known to cause sparrows to move on. It does not harm anything. It's not harmful to pets or animals. Again, that's the little dispenser there. It's very, very easy to place that dispenser. Obviously, if you're in a woodpecker situation, you're probably installing it up high and getting up on a ladder. But for the most part, if it's down low, it's very, very quick. Probably a good 30 seconds to switch one out. Again, that the material is a food grade ingredient that they use for grape soda, candy, medicine, stuff like that. It's a synthesized version of what's naturally found in fruits that are sweet like that. So it's a synthesized version that's called methylanthranilate, small, silent, and discreet. So that would conclude our quick discussion today. If anybody has any questions, raise your hand or put them out onto the chat.
Thank you, Mike. I have Alan here who's been taking a look at some of the questions we've gotten. Alan, if you can let us know, start with the first question you got there today.
Yeah, of course. So Mike, you kind of touched on the nesting aspect of this. So for bird out, would you use this for a nesting situation as like a primary deterrent, or what would be the kind of the attack plan for incorporating this if you had to use it? Would you or would you not?
Nesting, here's how I'm always going to look at a bird problem. What kind of birds, where are they, how many? And it's that how many part that gauges how serious it is. If it were 100 pigeons, I would say that's not the situation for this product. If it's just a couple of sparrows up in a little cove, yeah, go for it. Netting is always the better way to go, but you can always, like I said, you can use this to back up an installation of the other stuff as well. Like one of the guys out in Vegas, he put these up after he excluded a solar panel unit, and it pushed them all off of the building. But every situation is going to be different. It's always important to ask those three questions: what kind of birds, how many, and where are they?
Yeah, that's a very, very good point there. Those making sure you cover those three questions.
Mm-hmm.
So this is more of an installation type question. Can you install bird out cartridges without the dispenser?
You could, but it's better to secure it. Without the dispenser, you really have no way of securing it and protecting it from people grabbing it or taking off with it. I mean, if it's at someone's home, I suppose you could, but you would want a little, the dispenser is going to give a little protection from the weather. So, I mean, again, you could, but I would suggest you stick with the dispenser. It's not that much money.
Yeah, I can see the cartridge tilting sideways.
Yeah, if it got blown over, it tilted over, it's gonna dispense faster and get the wicking aspect of it, soggier. So best to keep it in the dispenser.
Right. Yeah. Mike made a good point about how those dispensers are very affordable. So it's really not a big deal just to get a couple of those and have them handy. So yeah, perfect answer.
And I'm gonna preempt you, and the question I keep getting is, does this work for bats? I got a 2 days worth of it on Tuesday and Wednesday this week over in Phoenix. It's not labeled on there, and we just don't know. Probably not with some of the people, the wildlife people that I talk to. We don't think so. We haven't. It's not on the label. We haven't found out. We don't think that it will, but stay tuned, maybe. But
In other words, if you try it for bats and it works, let us know.
correct. Yeah, I always get a lot of calls on bats, and I'm like, it's usually about exclusion. That's when it comes down to it. Yeah.
Got it.
Got it. Here's another installation question. What if I don't hear the click when I twist the cartridge activating it, but I could kind of smell the grape aroma? What should I do?
Hang tight, because give it about 15 minutes, and I did this on my test out there at the warehouse. It takes about 10-15 minutes. You'll see that this fabric is it's really white, and then if it starts to get a yellowish tinge to it, you know that's been activated. If you can smell it, you know it's been activated. And then if you want to check and see if there's actual liquid in there, this one's empty, but just give it a little shake like this, and you can hear the liquid move around.
Perfect.
So just a quick little tip on that. Again, it's not like a really light click. You'll feel a significant click, and it twists the cap thing moves downwards, so it allows it to fit into the cartridge. I don't know if you probably can't see that. So that little cap part of it fits into the seat of it. If it's not activated properly, it'll be too high to fit into the slot. I know that's probably really hard to see. I'm just looking at it in a small piece, but if it's not activated, the top of this won't sit at, can you guys see it? Sorry. It won't sit at this level. It'll be above it.
Yep, and we do have our installation videos on our YouTube page. We could also link everyone to as well. So that'll go through everything, all the installation steps as well. I guess another one, you kind of touched a little bit about it in the PowerPoint. Will this bother my clients' pets and or people where it's installed?
It will not. I had it actually activated at a show just the other day, and everybody, it didn't bother anybody. I mean, there's always going to be somebody who might be sensitive to it. That's always a possibility, but I don't see it bothering pets or mostly people. But it's still, people are sensitive to things, but I would not say it's 100%. But there's a really good chance it's going to be, it's not going to bother anybody at any point.
Yep. And here's one for, let's say, you buy a couple of dispensers and a couple cartridges. What type of shelf life should you expect out of this?
Got it. You can expect about a 1-year shelf life out of this, maybe a little more, but that's what we found is the 1-year shelf life of it.
Awesome. So it sounds like you could have a couple of these at the office, or in a
stock
relatively,
up have it in the service vehicle, that kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
It doesn't take up a lot of space.
Great. And just to reiterate, once it's activated, you touched on it as well in the PowerPoint, but how frequently would you recommend replacing these cartridges?
Changing it out. And what our general idea of it is just every 60 days. Colder climates, the methylenthranilate will, it gets thicker and it crystallizes a little bit, but below 50 degrees, it doesn't seem to be as effective because it's not evaporating at a colder temperature. On the converse of that, if you're in Phoenix and it's 120 degrees in the summer, it's going to evaporate faster. So consider, obviously the temperature, I talked about that. Consider the temperature of the area where you're at. If it's in the middle of summer and it's 100 plus, you might be changing them out every month. But general guideline is every 60 days or 2 months.
Awesome. And then kind of tied into that, you also mentioned just the area coverage. If it's let's say an example would be, it's kind of more on the medium side of bird pressure. So farther away, you have a little bit more birds in the area. How far apart would you recommend spacing these dispensers?
Anywhere, there's no exact formula on it, anywhere between 10 and 20 feet. 20 definitely maximum. But considering that, are you in a windy area? Is there a building giving a backing to it? We've seemed to find that when there's a building that there's a back to it, you get more effectiveness versus like if you just stuck it out in the middle of a field or in the backyard with no building, consider less area.
Right. And then this question is actually probably one that I find very important is, do you have to clean the area before you install this product, or do you recommend cleaning?
Oh yeah,
the area?
absolutely. Anytime you're installing bird products, you want to clean the area, for whether you're using the sticky back or you're screwing it in, but just make sure the area is clean. If there's a lot of bird droppings, whether it's in there, it's a good idea to do that.
Right.
When you're installing any bird control products.
Awesome. I think that kind of wraps up some of the main questions that we received and that we've gotten for bird out.
All righty. Thanks for those
Okay.
questions. Any others out there?
Let's see.
Oh, one of the ones that I thought of, can you unclick it? No. Once you've started the process, you can't back it off and sort of shut it off. I've gotten one of those questions. Can you turn it back and close it? No, it doesn't work that way, because when you click it, it breaks the seal membrane of the container and insert, basically exposes the wick to the material or the liquid. So
That's
it can't be undone. It cannot be undone.
It's a great question, Mike. I know that some boaters have used it on their boats for those times when the boat is parked or not in use. And what they do when they're gonna go off into the ocean and make use of their boat is they would take the container and put it in a
Put in a Ziploc bag,
or a container that's zip tight, a plastic container, just to keep it,
so they don't have to smell it on there. It's not that it's bad. It's just the that would probably do it. It's still gonna.
It's still gonna continue kind of evaporating, but
it's gonna slow it down.
That would only be the only thing you can do to prevent it.
Maybe we come up with a product that you put it in to slow it down.
Right. Black box. Oh wait, that's what we have.
We've got those containers for Kush.
Yes.
Ooh, there's a possibility right there.
Good one. It's a good idea, Mike. Well, I think this has been a good quick overview on the product. So we invite everybody to just reach out to us with any questions, and we'll be sure to share the recording with you all. Thank you so much for your time today, and Mike and Alan for your help presenting this content.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Mike@birdbegone.com. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
All right.